Welcome to Mysteries of Writing, where various topics about writing is taken into deeper perspective. Today will be a discussion about the writer's process. Everyone's process is different. What do I mean by that? Everyone has a different approach of how the writer's process is to them. Maybe they'll start in the outlining before they start writing their story. Or some people might start with writing out their entire story and then do whatever they want with their story. The process is different for everyone. Depending on who you ask, you're going to get a different response. Even if you follow guidelines that work for someone else, doesn't mean it's going to work for you. Because not everything works out. There's some things that we can take in and have in our own process, but we can't just have everything just all of a sudden like, okay, this is what I'm going to do. Or this is like, oh, okay, got it. I gotta use use this, and that, all that stuff whenever I have time to do that. You need to know you. And knowing yourself as a person is very important, especially whenever you are about to get into a process something. Because if you just put yourself in any situation, what are you gonna do? Like, you had to have a plan to get through the process. If not, you're just going to spin in circles and get nowhere. And when we're talking about the writing process, think of the writing process as an experiment. You have this hypothesis of, okay, I think I am going to do this. And as you're going through it, you're going to experience many things that you probably have never done before. And that's okay because the writing process is meant to be an experiment that you have trial and errors. And the writing process is full of it. So don't expect perfection. Don't expect everything to go your way because obviously there's going to be obstacles that are going to be in your way. And that's where the learning comes into play. So you're going to have strengths and you're going to have weaknesses. So whatever your weaknesses are, you can learn from them by A, improving in what you had to improve in. B, probably cut that from your writing process. Or C, find something else that could probably work for you. And let me go over those three things really quick. So, let's say in the writing process, editing. So you're editing your writing like line by line, and you're like, okay, I see that I'm not doing well in this area. Let's say a scene. Okay, I don't like how I brought in my characters into the scene. Okay, so how can you improve that? Well, what you can do is read it and see what makes it little bumpy or makes the story slow down even more. And you probably had to cut that from that. The cutting option is, okay, I am a horrible editor. Let me give this to someone else to do. Maybe a friend or someone who you trust that will give you some constructive criticism on what's probably wrong with your writing. It can be grammatically, it can be um, story wise, or it can just even be your writing in general. And the third option is to do something else. So maybe instead of going straight into the writing and trying to fix it, maybe you need to put it off for some time. Have a fresh mind so you can be your own critic, but as if you have never read your story before. What makes the writing process stand out to you? What makes the writing process unique? What makes you want to be a part of the writing process? And think of it as your very own. You can watch countless videos about the writing process and still be unable to know what your writing process is. And this is where expectations come into play. So, expectations, well, we go through them every single day in life. And when it comes to writing, those expectations seem even higher because you're expecting to do something, such as finish a book. Hmm, that got you off guard, didn't you? So expectations when it comes to writing, yes, I'll say it takes a lot of guts to get in a seat, have a piece of paper, or have your computer on a new document to write. That takes a lot. And not only sit there and think about ideas that you want to write about, like how are you going to like write the words that are coming out from you and like maintain that pretty much. And the expectations of having a certain word count in a day or writing for this long, that could feel like putting plenty of expectations on yourself. And it seems unrealistic when you think about it. Writing 1,000, 2,000 words every single day and keeping that going for a while, does that really seem realistic in your circumstances? Think about it. Think about the writing process in your shoes. Would that be realistic in what you're trying to reach? Or are you forcing yourself to do that because this person said so on a YouTube video? And what's funny is that when it comes to expectations, it's like everything's on the line. Well, nothing's on the line because you're writing, and it's a process, and no one's going to know about it unless you put your ideas out there. That okay, I want to publish this writing out there so people could read it, get to know my writing style, and all that stuff. But it all starts with you. You are your worst critic, and those expectations are set upon yourself. So whenever you're thinking about these expectations, they're on you. You as the writer sitting down at your desk trying to figure out what to write. Let me tell you something. Start your expectations low, especially when you're starting out with writing. Because writing can start out as a hobby, like it did for me. And it could be something that's short term. And if you don't like it, like, hopefully that's not the case. But of course, the writing's not for everyone. But if you want to take it seriously, you want to have have the expectations as low as possible because you never know where how far you'll go if you just already have the bar set so high that you're right here. And that's very unrealistic. And as you improve in your writing, even if it's slow, maybe those expectations would elevate. But if you don't want those expectations to elevate, maybe like, okay, I just want to go smoothly. I just want to write. And that should be your main expectation. You should have that mindset. I want to write. I want to have some words on the paper. I don't want the page to go blank. And having that mindset to want to write, that should be enough right there. The writing process is a process that goes through a long period of time. And you have to go through it long enough to understand how complex it goes. But you have to be patient. And patience, when it comes to patience, not all of us human beings have the patience to go through a long process. But when you are pursuing and writing, that process is not just say, um, one and done. No, no, no. It is a commitment. Just like if you want to read more or shoot, even write more. If you want to write more, you got to put in the work. You got to be there and want to write because writing is not like a stop, drop and jot. It's not a quick write that you do in English class. It's something that you want to do, that you want to pursue, that you want to do outside of your work time, outside of whatever is going on in your life. You want to do this as an escape from the real world, from the problems that you are going through. That writing becomes your life. A lot of people say that they want to write a book. How many actually start the book? How many get at least 1/4 into it? How many get halfway to the midpoint, to the meat of the story? How many gets to the end of the story? How many finish the story? That small percentage. Because the writing process is a process that lasts for a long period of time. Don't expect it to be quick. Because it's not quick. Don't think of it as something to get easy money on. Because it's not. Because the best of the best, because the best of the best, it took them some time to get to where they are today. And if you want to get somewhere near where they are, you have to be patient and take the process, the writing process, at a gradual, slow pace. Because it is slow. I know I spit it out plenty of harsh truths, but it has to be said. But let me give you some insight of a personal writing process. Nene, for example, my writing process. The reason why I'm putting my writing process as an example is because I'm the expert of my own writing process. Because I can't tell your story. I can't tell what your writing process is. Because I don't know that. And I wouldn't know that 100%. Because like I said before, you have to know who you are. You have to know what your writing process is. I don't care how many videos you watch about the writing process. You have to know what your process is. You got to know your strengths and weaknesses, your limitations, etc. So let me talk about my writing process. So whenever I started writing as a passion, I was thinking about, okay, every weekend I'm going to sit down at the computer and write. It's perfect. Perfect. And I was doing pretty good. I got some words down, like maybe a page or two. I don't know, maybe three or four, maybe a chapter if I was lucky. But as I was going through my writing process early on, I knew my worst days of writing, which was Wednesdays. Wednesdays, nothing would just come to me, and I'm like, oh, I'm stuck. And the beginning of the week, when everything's kind of chaotic and like a lot to do, yeah, not the best days to want to write something. So I usually wait till the end of the week to sit down and write something. And that was great until I reached the battle scene of my story, of my first novella, actually, which actually put a pause on my writing process because I was like, I didn't know how to write the battle scene. And I had to take a step back and do a little research of how to write an effective battle scene. And with that, I was learning the process of how a battle scene was executed. And you know what? I was thinking of, you know what? My battle scene don't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be this all scale, whatever, majig. It can be as small. It can be about the characters, what the characters are going through in the battle. And that was a process that I went through and getting some more tips of writing, like while I was still writing my first novella. But uh, as soon as I got all that information, I was able to apply that to the battle scene and actually finish my first novella. And I'll say throughout the 3 years I've been writing so far, my writing process has changed. It absolutely has. Because whenever I wrote my second and third novella, that's within that series, I I had a lot of spare time with my afternoon classes. That's whenever I usually had the time to write. And also having the evening times whenever I didn't have homework, I would just just write or just keep the story moving forward. And that was amazing. So amazing. And then when I finished the series, or I guess I say over halfway there, I was learning about editing and how complex that step was. It was not the best. I hate it myself. A lot of writers hate it, but it's a process that you have to go through. I'm going to go through the editing process right now. Let me tell you something. It ain't easy. Like changing your work, it's so hard. And that's why laying it to the side is a great idea. So you come back with a fresh mind and a different perspective. And you can see it objectively. So whenever I was editing my first novella, at first I did it on my own. I was like, okay, I want to add some more words because that was my goal. I wanted some more words in there because when I first finished it, I was like, I didn't even meet the word count goal that I had for it, which was 20,000 words. And whenever I worked on the story, like, okay, maybe I can add a little bit of this to it, and like, fluff it up a little bit. And going through that was quite long, but I was able to add almost 10,000 more words to it. So it surpassed the goal that I had for 20,000 words. And I had over 26,000 words, which was a accomplishment for my teenager self back then. And I didn't learn too much. But whenever I had it edited a second time, kind of, it was the beginning of my story. There was a whole lot wrong with it that I had to start that entire beginning over. And I was like thinking about where else in my story could it be potentially bad or crazy because that's something. I wouldn't expect anything else to be bad. And starting out at for right and starting out writing, I didn't expect anything to go wrong. I thought I was the best writer in the world. People, my classmates, my teachers would say I'm a great writer, and nothing could go wrong. And boy, I was wrong. And then whenever I got my first novella revised a third time, this time it was grammatically. I had so many grammatical errors. I had different um different areas like or different pages that had they're missing commas. And I was like so surprised. And some sentences that I worded was kind of weird, so I had to reword it. And wow, that was fun. That was fun. And I actually learned a lot more from that third editing round than the first one that I did myself, because the person who looked over it, who read through it, yeah, she caught a lot of errors in that first novella alone. And I allowed her to do the other two as well. And a lot of them were grammatical mistakes. Like my story was spot on, like story wise, it was spot on. The characters, she liked them for the most part, and the plot was really great, the conflict and everything. It was just the way I worded things, missing commas, and the little things that a reader would catch. And I'm glad that she noticed it, because I would have had done anything to that other than just to add words for a bigger word count. Currently, I'm writing my very first novel, and I have it set in a futuristic fantasy world, and it has taken me quite a long time. Because when it first came to me in February of 2023, I was like, I want to do this. I want to write something new and something fresh. And, outside of this novella series that I've been working on for about a year. And it was just time for something new. And I was really excited to write it. So I had outlined the first two chapters of that story. Oh, yeah. I am a plotter and a pantser, but I'm more a pantser. So, yeah. Who plots on the side? Yeah, I plot on the side. Yeah, plotters would hate me because I don't just outline everything and then get started. No. Whenever the story comes to me, I write it. And I might just put some notes on the side. But anyways, writing the first chapter, it was easy because I was getting started. Oh, no. No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't. It was the words. It was the words. Because the words were not coming to me. And I was very frustrated. Plus, I was working on my third novella, so that was another issue. And funny to know, it took me 5 months to finish chapter one of my novel. And of course, I wasn't happy, but like I said before, you have to be patient because the writing process is a process that takes a long period of time. And unfortunately, that first chapter took a long period of time. But that's okay because as I was developing the first chapter, I learned so much more about it. I was able to go more in depth into my main character that I was working with and, like, explore a new realm of storytelling. And that was really great. And I'll say writing the first novel, and still trying to finish it to this day. Like it was very slow. I say that by the first year I had about to chapter 5, which was awful. I was like, I finished I finished 3 novellas within a year. Are you telling me I finished 5 chapters? That doesn't make sense. But sometimes the writing process will do that to you so you can learn things along the way. And throughout that process, I was in writer's block. And writer's block is something everyone would hate to be in, but it does happen, even to the best of us, when we're getting that momentum. And it's the absolute worst when you have that momentum and writer's block suddenly gets to you. It's very frustrating. I understand that 100% was in there multiple times with the novel I'm currently writing. And yeah, it is so something. And the writing process, of course, is going to feel really fast at times and really slow. And as I'm approaching year 2 of writing this novel, it's pretty slow right now because the words aren't coming to me. But if I have the mindset to sit down and write the story, the words will eventually come to me, and then I will be able to finish the story in no time. What to take away from this episode? Number 1, everyone's process is different. So, no matter what similarities you or this group of writers, or let's just say a variety of writers, might have in common, you all take that process differently. Number 2, know what expectations that you're putting on yourself. When you're starting out writing, don't have the expectations go so high on the bar when you're this low, because it'll seem unrealistic and you're not on that level just yet. And starting the expectations low as just writing, it doesn't have to be every day, but it can be every other day, and having that consistency of writing, just being there in general to write, that's really all you need. That is your baseline of expectations. And as you grow as a writer and improve in the writer's process and get more knowledge of what it takes into the writing process, then you can, if you want to, set that bar of expectations a little higher. And number 3, trust yourself through the entire process. Like I said earlier in the video, the writing process is a long process that takes a long period of time. But you have to be patient. You have to be willing to put in the work as long as you trust the process.